Hi again, welcome back to Jumpstart Your Confidence, and today we are going to have a little chat about communicating with teenagers. The dreaded question I'm asked 1,000 times: how do I get through to them? How do we continue communication? One thing I would say is, I think one of the biggest problems we have when communicating with teens is believing that that communication has actually taken place, when a lot of the time what we may have done is hopped in with a lecture, hopped in with our advice, hopped in with our shock or horror, and really it's just so ineffective. The biggest thing I think is learning how to actively listen to our teens. Is it one of the most frustrating things, communicating with our teens at times? Absolutely yes, but communication is essential and vital, and realistic communication is essential and vital. Because guys, if we are not communicating with our teens in a realistic way, they will look for somebody else or somewhere else, which very often is online. Now, communicating and relying on advice and information from online sources is a really dangerous place for us to find ourselves. You know, the one thing I'd say is when your teen comes to you, and maybe they're being honest, and maybe they're saying, Mom or Dad, I'm thinking I might have a drink after my junior cert results, or I tried smoking, or maybe you find cigarettes in their bag, or worse again, maybe you find a bit of weed or whatever. You know, there's no point in racing in at that point, angry and annoyed and frustrated. Try really hard, and if you're actually, which happened to me once, really, I remember one of mine saying something to me about drink, and I got such a fright because I wasn't realising it. I hopped in with everything I advise people not to do. And I copped on after a minute or two, and I just said, sure, look, I'll come back to you and talk later because I'm just actually not in a place to do it now. So we did chat later, and it was being realistic, and it was saying, look, if you feel the need that this is what you're going to do, then at least be sensible about it and understand the effect it has. And if you're happy with the effect of drink on you and your personality and your behaviours, and you can do it moderately, then that's one thing. But if you're deciding to drink to fit in with a peer group, or fit in with your friends, or you're under pressure from whoever, then that's not on. So we have to keep these lines of communication. I'm not saying it's okay to drink, I'm just saying our kids are being hit left, right and centre with drink, sex, weed, you know, and it's just really hard. And from the mums and dads of you out there with the boys, please begin at an early age and help them to understand the reality of porn. That porn is not real, that porn is actors and actresses being paid to act in a certain way, but that is not reality, because we have a massive problem that is not being talked about enough, and it's affecting our boys and our girls. The boys are confused and unsure what to expect, and look, the list is endless as to the effects this is having. And our girls, some, look, I'm always saying some, it's not everybody obviously, but there's a lot of girls feeling that they need to behave in a certain way to please the boys. That's gone back 100 years. We need to communicate. People often say to me, well, she or he is a teenager, they lock themselves in their room, that's the way it's supposed to be. Well, I'm sorry, I don't agree with that. I have one post-teen, actually I have to think about that one, 3 present teens, and I'm not saying it's perfect, and I'm not saying I don't lose the plot, I absolutely do, possibly every day, but I do know if I didn't communicate with my kids, we would be in trouble. And by communication, guys, it doesn't mean sitting down having a big heart-to-heart. You might text them, you might write them a note, and actually writing an odd note or text here and there is quite a good idea, because there's no area or room for them to react or for you to react, so it's an easy way of getting your point across and then talking about it later on. You know, do your teens need to know that you love them? Never more have they needed to hear these words. Parents will say, but should they know, she knows, he knows. They need to hear it. I'm not saying overflow a ridiculous amount of loving affirmations, but I am saying, I love you. And at times if they're misbehaving or they're doing something that you don't agree with, you might say, look, I'll always love you, I just mightn't like your behaviour. And sit down and be realistic. If they come in from school, and in my experience with, say, especially 13 to 15s, they're coming in from school, they are so confused at school, they're trying to fit in, they're trying to behave in a certain way, look in a certain way, they're under pressure for exams, they're under pressure for study, they're under pressure from their peers. So when they're coming in ready to go for someone, please try and remember that they felt like that before they opened the door, so it's nothing to do with you. And the way you react to that may very well decide on the kind of day you're all going to have. Again, I know it's hard, but I'd say take a breath, walk out the door, walk around the block, do whatever you have to do, take a breath and let them just calm down before you begin to even try and discuss what's happening. Parents saying to me that kids are on PlayStation all day, they can't get them off. No, the pro of PlayStation is that it is a way of communicating for the kids with their peer group and their friends, and that's absolutely a positive. The negative is when it goes on and on and on and on and on and on, and that's just not right. So at that point, our role as parents is to get it off. Take it off them, put up with the fight, put in your boundaries, because they need you to. I've had kids who say, I'm online so much, I wish they'd actually just take it off me because I can't take it off myself. I'm so addicted and my friends are on all the time and I feel I need to be available all the time. I've genuinely had kids come crying to me saying, how do we get off this? How do we stop? So if you're going to do one thing, remember your role as a parent is to put in the boundaries that you feel necessary for your kids. Talk to your kids. Talk to them every day you can, and if that's only for 2 minutes, it's better than nothing. But when you are talking to them, use eye contact, let them know that you're interested and you're listening. What a brain of a 15-year-old or a 14-year-old is thinking and the way they perceive the world is very, very different to the way our brain might be thinking and the way we perceive the world, because we have a lot of years of experience on them. So do try, always try, and remember what it was like to be 13, 14, 15, 17, whatever age you're dealing with. Try and remember what was important to you. So if your son or daughter's get out the door and they're distracted because something to do with their hair or their uniform or their clothes, and we're rushing and we're off, we're going to take it, doesn't matter. It matters to them. And it will impact on their day big time if they go in feeling inadequate, less than, not happy about themselves. It does make their day a lot harder. Be under no illusion, it's a different world out there, it's much, much more difficult. Try, if they are going to discuss, and this is another one, a lot of people don't want to go. They don't want to put themselves out there, they don't want to, they're just not ready. Listen to them. They don't have to be going to discuss. Great if they're happy and comfortable and they enjoy it, but they don't have to go. There's plenty of kids out there who have no interest. It doesn't mean there's anything wrong with them, it just means they're not ready, and that's fine. I work with an awful lot of creative kids, and I would find in my experience a lot of the creative kids are struggling because our educational system doesn't hold any place for them really. Society is getting way better, but it is still something that's looked upon as something out of the norm. So if you happen to be the parent of a creative kid, or you notice your child is so happy when they're drawing, when they do drama classes, but maybe when they come in from football or a sport, they're frustrated and they're just finding it hard. Listen. Listen, look, learn from their behaviour, try and understand what is it that makes them happy. Because whatever it is, we want to be doing a lot more of it. Just listen to them. There are so many kids I deal with who really do not enjoy whatever activity it is that their parents feel is the best thing for them. And don't get me wrong, I know we have to push a little and introduce them to different things, but we know how they are when they come back from these things. Or if you're at the side of a pitch, or if you're at the play, or whatever it may be, watch your own child. Don't be taking too much notice of the one next to you, or the family, or the aunts or uncles, or the sisters and brothers. You know your child, and I would really say, if you feel you could know them better, take the time. Watch their behaviours, see how they are, notice the times when they're happiest, and notice the times when they're not. If they're spending a lot of time in their room, maybe you're going to have to start watching something that you don't love. If I see another girly movie, I could go off my head, but at times we have to just sit there and put something on to get us all together. Or we might end up doing something on a Sunday that mightn't be my first choice, but I know it might instill a little bit of interest in them so we can get each other together. So just take your time. Anyone wants any information, any tips, any advice, please don't hesitate to give me a shout. This is something, with 4 daughters of my own and working with so many kids, communication is something I am so passionate about, and I'm more than happy to support or help anybody who might want it. Just email me. All my details are on Jumpstart Your Confidence website. So that's it for today. I will probably pop in and out of communication non-stop because of how important it is. But the next day we're going to do a short little run on trust, which obviously has an impact on communication as well.